Hello and welcome to a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Sonia and Nigel. Guys, hi.
Hi, morning.
All of us back from a one-day break, and I think we will usher in perhaps a new high, at least on one of the indices. That's essentially the sense that the SGX is also indicative of. Perhaps it's going to be the Bank Nifty. I mean, and I think that is basically going to be the big headline when that happens. You've got the Nifty, which is about 2% away from its all-time high, which was in October of 2021. That was 18,604. The Bank Nifty, of course, we made a new high just earlier in September before, we saw a sharp correction in October. And that's just about 1/3% away on the Nifty Bank. So almost back at all-time highs. It's, of course, going to be a much bigger deal for the Nifty when we finally get there. Perhaps not today, but, I think equally momentous for the Nifty Bank as well. What happens from here, of course, is the big question. Will it be a crawl or will it be a run-up? Sentiment, momentum, etc. Very, very positive. SGX indicating about a 50-point higher start this morning. Good morning, guys.
Hi, morning, Prashant. Morning, Nigel. Absolutely. And, the going has been good, right? I mean, even this morning, the SGX Nifty is indicating a big gap up opening. There's so much momentum in this market. Anyone you speak to on the, on the street will tell you that perhaps FII flows are also coming back in a big way. The only worry is that the commodity complex has been rising for the last one to 2 weeks. So on the horizon, that's the only, niggling worry for the market. But rest, all the pieces are coming together. So as we've been telling you, a 10-month high for the index, virtual all-time highs for the Bank Nifty as well. And there was large buying in the cash markets once again, about almost 2,000 crores of buying from FIIs. And put together in the last 5 trading sessions of November, FIIs have put in over 8,100 crores. So it's looking pretty good. On Wall Street, it was a pretty strong session there as well. So the Dow was up in excess of 300 points. And now, the results of the midterm elections will be keenly watched. But I reckon that for our own markets, we've moved beyond a lot of these global cues. And, our own markets have it good in terms of FII flows. Earnings have improved, especially, pockets like banks. So it's an uptrending market. Just that the new highs, I mean, we're barely, about 300 points, less than 300 points away from that. Whether it comes today, through the course of the week, time will tell.
Time will tell, but I can tell you this, Sonia, that, I met a bunch of people yesterday. The amount of, and this is, a mix of long-only hedge funds, etc., extremely positive about India and prospects from here. The only question is, as someone who's seen this play out, 10, 15 years ago, I hesitate a little bit. What from here? We're already at new highs. How much higher in this leg can we go? But I think, we'll take it as it comes. I think that's basically what we need to sort of deal with. But I have to tell you, extremely bullish, not just about India, actually, but about global equities. That's the view which is developing, that bulk of the rate hikes, etc., are behind us, and you got to look forward. So let me just quickly outline how things are. So new highs on the Bank Nifty within touching distance. So that's not very far away. It's 41,840, perhaps should come today. Most likely. The Nifty is 2% away from its October 2021 highs, which was 18,604. As I said, overall sentiment remains very, very positive. And this is true for India. It's true for global markets as well. If you just rank returns amongst emerging markets year to date, I mean, actually amongst all large markets, US included, India ranks at the #1 pole position. Steady stream of FI money coming in, right? I mean, every day now we are starting to notice 1,000, 2,000 crores of money which is trickling in. And in November so far, that adds up to about a little over 8,000 odd crores. Globally, the dollar is weak, and this is pretty interesting. Last Friday, the DXY index fell 2%. It was down on Monday. It was down last night as well. So 3 days, the dollar index has lost about 3% or so. The 20-week moving average for the DXY index is about 108.9 something. And that's a long-term support off of which the dollar index has bounced. If that were to go, I think that is unambiguously positive for emerging market flows. It's the primary channel through which pressure or pleasure sort of comes through for emerging markets. The dollar index, the dollar that is, against most currencies. We get the US CPI numbers tomorrow, and I think an undershoot or an overshoot always matters. It's an important data point. I would say it's much more important than the midterm election results, which we'll start to hear about later, starting a little later. So the inflation number is what you want to watch. China pessimism is receding. I mean, despite the fact that over the weekend gone by, we heard officially Chinese politicians saying that zero COVID is here to stay, etc., stocks reacted positively. So I think this is another reason why that the dollar is under pressure, that China is coming back up. So you don't need, not everyone needs to pile in completely into the dollar and remain there. It's not risk off. Maybe there is optimism building in China as well. And the point is, given the way Chinese markets have suffered, it's possible you get an easy 10-15% bounce in China as well. Brent oil prices, they are back, and I think that's another good thing this morning. They're back at about $95 a barrel. We've got the Energy sort of Association in America, the government agency, which has cut its demand estimate by about 100,000 barrels per day. So oil prices coming under pressure, which is positive for a large importer like India. Nigel, what are you watching?
Well, the nation's going to be gripped because India is going to be participating in the T20 semi-final and final, right? So the stage is set. The Nifty is on its way to that trophy. The pitch is looking pretty good. And in fact, in terms of a batting lineup, the openers are doing a good job. And then you have Surya Kumar Yadav, who comes and hits it out of the park. That's Reliance Industries. Last two sessions, the end of the day has belonged to Reliance Industries.
Completely deja vu, Nigel, right? Yeah. I mean, Friday's session repeated
on Monday.
On Monday, absolutely.
So let's begin.
And if it's an India-Pakistan final, then that will be the cherry on the cake,
that's
right?
That's going to be a thriller. But let's, get to the stage set for the Nifty to have a trend day. The Indian markets, well, we need to catch up with positive global cues for the last two trading sessions. So that's pretty good news. The dollar index, well, in the near term, it seems to have made a peak around that 114.5 to around 115. At least that's the sense you're getting, because the kind of downtick that you've seen, it's below that 110, which is good news for India. The Nifty Bank, that bounced up in trade. There was fresh long addition even in Monday's trading session. And that said, for fresh all-time highs in the first tick itself. And Reliance Industries, well, that's been showing some good traction. If you pull up the intraday chart as well on Monday, you'll see that one ended at the high point of the day. And that's what's giving the final, knockout punch to the bears. Now, the FI positioning, that's interesting. In the cash market, they bought close to $2 billion odd. All of that in just 8 trading sessions. On the index futures, they continue to remain net longs, but we were asking for some shorts. So they've added some shorts, in this series so far. The long positioning has come down. When you have shorts in the system, at some point of time, it's going to give us that additional fillip that you're looking forward to. What are the levels you're looking at? Well, the resistance level, we're going to be starting around there, 18,350 to around 18,400. And I say this is a crucial resistance because even in Monday's trading session, there was writing seen at around that 18,300 call. Premium was around 50 rupees. So that plugs in perfectly with that 18,350 odd level. On the downside, though, support seems to have moved up a little bit. Aggressive writing was seen at around that 18,100 put, and the premium out there was around 75 rupees. 18,100, 18,200 put as well was fairly active. So that's giving you a sense that the 18,100 level could be a bit of a support. SGX Nifty suggesting a gap up. Today, the shallower dips could be bought into. On Monday, I made this point that we're likely to see a gap up and then that gets sold into and you buy the dips. Today, a shallower dip could get bought into. That's because we're bracing ourselves for a bit of a trend day. So let's see how this plays out. Sonia.
Absolutely. And the Dow ended in the green for the third straight day as well, right? So over there too, the cues have been very supportive from the global arena. A couple of things to watch out for. The PSU banks definitely was the star piece all of last week. And through the course of the earnings season, right, our colleague Abhishek put out a note about the PSU banks and how they've done this earnings season. Very strong loan growth and more importantly, asset quality across the board has improved dramatically for PSU banks. So that continues to be in focus. There's lots happening on the results front. There's Tata Motors, Pidilite, Lupin, Godrej Properties that come out with the results today. Tomorrow you have Ashok Leyland and we'll top it off with M&M on Friday. So lots to talk about. And then there are 2 IPOs that open today as well. We'll keep an eye out on that. 5-Star Business Finance and Archean Chemical Industries are the 2 IPOs that open up. By the way, we don't talk much about the Bitcoin anymore, but there's been a massive collapse there in the crypto universe with the Bitcoin hitting the lowest level since November 2020 and briefly slipping below that 18,000 mark as well. So lots happening in the crypto universe and that rapid slide, the sell-off over there continues.
And by the way, gold is up 2%, 2.5%, which has been kind of languishing. So it's kind of ironic that gold is up. Old gold is up 2% and the new digital gold, right? I mean, Bitcoin was often described as the new gold. that is off to where it is. I mean, down 12% or so overnight. So that's pretty interesting. Well, let's get you some calls that we have lined up for you across. So this is on equities. Gautam Dugar of Motilal Oswal Financial Services says some risks have emerged with the commodity complex rising last week, which is the only worry. He says other than stable earnings, positive management commentary and no major earnings cut is a big positive. Adds near-term upside is limited as the Nifty is trading at 20 times one-year forward earnings. He says PSU banks are still under-owned and continue to do well.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the rupee as well. The rupee actually gained, I think it's now below the 82 mark. 81.90 was the last tick on the money markets. Kunal Sadhani of Shinhan Bank says a huge move in the 2-year German bonds, highlighting more aggressiveness from the ECB, pushed the euro higher. He says investors are hoping for a political gridlock that could prevent radical policy changes and for a slowdown in the pace of rate hikes from the Fed. He says this in turn is weighing on the dollar and US yields. Kunal adds the dollar index faces a crucial support at 109.20. He says crude slides due to worries over China demand, economic slowdown. And for the dollar INR, Kunal says 81.20 acts as a support, while 81.92 is a firm resistance.
Well, on bonds, we've got Neeraj Gambhir who says, of Axis Bank, who says that the market has started the week on a positive note as US yields stabilized and the rupee appreciated post the US jobs number on Friday. For the rest of the week, he says the market will take cues from the October US CPI release and demand and weekly auction. He expects the 10-year benchmark bond yield to trade in a range of between 7.35 to 7.5% for the week.
Well, we have a lot of stocks because we had that midweek holiday to track for you.